Hi everyone, it's Wendy. I know it's been a while, and you're probably going to see three videos in quick succession today. Um, I have a review of two mystery boxes I got from Country Craft Creations. I got two tools I got that may be helpful in your crafting, whether it is yarn arts, um, like crocheting, knitting, tatting, um, macrame, whatever. Also in your paper arts, mixed media, and they'll be coming up. Those two will be coming up probably today. The one thing I'm going to talk about today, though, is when I do craft fairs, I've been making scrubbies, pot scrubbies. Though some people have bought them to use for face scrubbies, which is fine with me because I use a scrubby cotton. Now, a lot of times I find the scrubbies and they're made out of tulle, and tulle is fine, except tulle is rough. Um, and you got to cut it and all that. So I prefer using a scrubby cotton. Now you can get this in smooth, and you can get it what I call almost like a eyelash type. And this one is of course Red Heart, and I also have um, Yarn Bee, which is the Hobby Lobby, and basically they're the same. Um, they work up pretty much the same. The Yarn Bee might be just a little softer in that. But my reason for making this video is Red Heart Bee Crocheted has done a video using Red Heart Scrubby Cotton to make a poofy scrubby that I like to make. And people like them. Like I said, they buy them for pots and pans, and also some people buy them for their face. And if I sound a little congested, I apologize. My husband gave me a cold. Now, when and I'm going to link the tutorial that she has down in the bottom of this. Now, when she does hers, she does a chain of 22. And then you have to stitch when you get done with your tube, you have to stitch it closed. Well, I tried Magic Circle. Magic Circle works okay, except that this catches, and if you put too much tension on it, it breaks. So I thought, okay, I need a workaround. Um, so that's what I figured out. So what I found to work around using a magic circle, a modified magic circle, is using neutral crochet cottons. This one is cream and this one is beige. Either color will work. You can even find a color that works with your scrubby yarn, okay, if you want to do that. I just tend to use those neutrals because I can use them with any scrubby yarn I find. So I cut a piece that's about, depending upon your comfort, up to about 24 inches. Mine is about 22 in that. And I have my hook already, and I use an eye hook as recommended. And I will tell you this, eye hooks, all hooks come in different sizes. For boil, eye hook is 5.25. And I just saw my other eye hook in here that I like. I have a clover one, and that's 5.5. I think I am not sure where the difference comes in, but whatever. Um, the main difference between these is just how far in the thread fits into the hook. This one, the boil is a little shallower, whereas the boil is a little deeper. So whatever your comfort is. I use this one. It depends upon what I'm working on, which hook I use. Actually, whichever hook I grab first. So I have my length of cotton here, and I just make a circle. Now, if you notice, it's kind of off a little bit. And I try and leave 3 to 4 inches on the left, and the rest is all on the right. And my circle, probably about 2 inches. And I am going to pretend this is my magic circle. It can be a little awkward to begin with, but that's okay. The big thing is to make sure that you have one tail to the right, one tail to the left. Go ahead and work it just like a magic circle. You know, you do your slip stitch to join it on there, and then for her, I crochet 2. Then I take and I do the 25. That's 2, 3. I don't count that chain 2. Okay. Because now I'm on camera, my fingers are all wacky. And yes, this does use a double crochet post stitch. And this is small enough that she's got it as an intermediate. And I think if an advanced beginner, or if you're a beginner and you take it slow and watch her video on how she does this, watch plenty of videos on how to do the post stitch. It's a front post stitch. No, back post stitch. Front post, pardon me. This cold my husband gave me has just... But if you notice, I'm just crocheting along, and I'm kind of treating this like it's a flat piece here right now. Okay, so let's see how many I got. Remember, I'm not counting that chain 2, so you got to pull out that chain 2. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I need 6 more. Now, a lot of times when I'm working this, I will tighten it up a little bit. And I'll even pull that one a little bit, because I don't want it too long. Okay, so I need 6 more. And don't worry if it's ruffled down there. It works itself out. That's 3, 4, 5. And don't worry if you end up with a couple less or a couple more, okay? It doesn't matter. Now, if you notice, I've tightened it up a little bit. Now, when working with this yarn, if you know, I've noticed that I have to reset my tension hand a lot, a little bit more. But when you get in a rhythm, it doesn't matter too much. Now, if you notice, I'm trying to make sure my tails are behind, so they're sticking out the bottom. I've kind of closed it up just a little bit. I haven't tightened it all the way up. So now I will skip that chain 2 stitch and go in between and go behind that first one. And I do my front post. Now, I do count 2. But if you forget to count, don't worry about it. I'll show you a little trick on how to make sure that it's right. And if you notice, I do have a large amount pulled out here, and I do that simply because pulling this from the skein as you're crocheting, letting it get tied up, it doesn't work very well. So I always pull out a bunch of it, and I'll show you another little trick I have for it to kind of ease the tangling that it can happen. So I'm just going to go around, and since I didn't close up that first round completely, because if you notice, I didn't attach it, and you don't attach through this whole thing. And I'll show you where that long tail comes in handy because it becomes your stitch marker as well as how you're going to do your gathering at the top. So I just do these front post double crochets all the way around as it says in her video. And you know, I'm kind of looking to see where that tail is. But I'll show you another trick to do too if you forget to or if you can't figure out how many rows you've done. It's actually quite easy with the front post or the back post. Okay, so I've got 3 more to do. Now, I'm to where my next round will start. So all I'm going to take is the longer tail, bring it to the front. Make sure you don't get it and don't split it. And keep on going. So basically that, excuse me, longer tail just acts as your stitch marker. Now when you're doing these front post double crochets in this scrubby yarn, sometimes one of the stitches will get behind the other one, so you have to kind of roll it a little bit. It kind of likes to hide behind its neighbor. So as you notice, I'm just kind of rolling that next stitch with my tension hand. That's what I consider my left hand, is my tension hand. Oops. And by having this pile already pulled out, I don't put extra tension on the scrubby yarn itself, so it won't break. Or it's less likely to break. I won't say it won't break. But I have found it crochets a little smoother by doing this. But you still get the little ball ups, as you notice I've had. And when that happens, I just reset my tension hand. As you can see, I just reset it. Okay, so that's what you keep. That's what you do around. Now she says 4 rows or approximately 4 inches across, and with my tension, the way I crochet in that, it's about 9 rows, which is about what she has. I'm going to show you a little trick here. Now, let's say I just pulled out a whole bunch of this scrubby yarn, okay, like that. Now, if I continue working with that, it is going to tangle up because the yarn or the yarn from the ball is on top, and the yarn I am pulling to my work is on the bottom. So what I do is I take a few seconds and I just pull it backwards on top of my ball like that. And the nice thing is it allows me to make sure that there's no knots, so that when I'm crocheting I don't come up against knots. And this is a good trick to use anytime you have yarn where you're pulling out a bunch of it to work with. Because if you do that, then the yarn you're actually working with that goes to your hook is on the top. You're pulling it from the top rather than pulling it from the bottom of the pile. Okay, so let's say you get done or you get going. And now this one, I have 9 rows on it and it is close to 4 inches. Now let's say you forgot to do your yarn marker. Okay, now I'm going to pull this out. Don't fret, don't fret. All you really have to do if you want to make sure that you get it back into is just go up and say, okay, let's see where this ends. All right, right about there. Okay, so that's where it ends. Now, let's say, oh, I didn't do any. How can I count how many rows? Sorry, that's my phone. My husband's working and it's snowing here, so I gotta keep my phone on. So what I do when I want to figure out how many rows I've done is, okay, see these ridges? Count between the ridges. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this one, which does not have a ridge, is number 9. Okay, so I've got my 9 rows. Now, this is how I finish these off. So I'm doing a double crochet front post. I do a half double crochet front post. Then I go on the top of this stitch, do a single crochet, and then I go into the next stitch and do a slip stitch. All right, then I just end it off. As you can see, this is pulling a little. Whoops, sorry about that. See, that was pulling a little, so. And then I just cut off a nice little tail and I pull it through and I knot it. Okay, so there's that tail. Now, to close up my bottom, I got these 2 tails here. Just like you do, unlike what you do with a magic circle, this is almost like a slip knot. Okay, I just tie a knot and pull, and watch your strength. I have actually broken this. I'm not sure how. I just tie a knot. Now, don't finish off either one. I flip it so that I have my front side. I'm going to tuck this in. I'm going to take the longer one. If you have stitch markers in a little case, put a yarn needle on it. Of course, if you lose your case of stitch markers, you lose. And I am going to start approximately where, as you can see, this is where this long tail came up at. No, it's not where my ending is, but that's okay. And then I go right under the top and I just weave all the way around. That's where my end is, but that's okay. And you're going to see that the when I get this done, that you barely, if at all, can see the crochet yarn. And yes, I do it right under that top stitch there. And I do pull it a little tight as I'm stitching to kind of start gathering it up. Okay. And I try and come out where I started. Now I'm going to, and leave this tail out. I'm going to pull. Look at that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie another knot on the top. And I'm going to poke through to the other side, basically to the bottom. And I'm going to take and just poke through a couple times. For one thing, it kind of secures your puff a little bit. And if you make your stitches small enough, and when I'm inside here, I kind of maneuver my needle so it comes out at a different place. Okay, I'm going to do one more. That one. Bring it out. Now I'm going to take this one. And it's a little smaller, so you might not get more than one stitch or two. But I'm going to secure that one too at least one time. And I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to maneuver my needle so it's as close to the other tail as possible. I'm going to tie another knot. And then I'm going to take and bring it out through the side. Do the same with this one. Now, if you're worried about that little white showing, they don't notice. Believe me, I've had people look at them very hard and they really don't notice. And if they asked, I say, well, that's just the gathering. That's how I make them. Okay, there you go. There's the front. There's the back. And you don't have to worry about it breaking or trying to crochet the starting chain and join it. And even though you do it around the stitches, I find this just a little bit easier, and it's secured in the middle. Let's put it that way. It turns into a puff. If you look at this, you can see how it's puff. So if you want to puff them up a little bit, you can just by pulling it out, and it'll be puffy. Just like that. So that is how I do this pattern, using crochet cotton and the cotton scrub, or the scrubby cotton. And you don't have to worry about the scrubby cotton breaking on you when you're trying to chain it, and it just works. So if you're been a little hesitant to work with this because, you know, how do I work with this? Is an alternative. It's not, like I said, this pattern is off of Be Crocheted, and I'll put the link down in the description box. And I would love to thank her for her great pattern, because it is a great pattern. This is just my adaptation of the pattern to make it work for me. So that I don't have to worry about the pulling that can go on. Because when you're trying to pull this through to gather it up, it's hard because those little things catch. And this makes it so much easier because you got a smooth cotton going through, and it just goes through. So long as you don't split the yarn in any way, you're going to be fine. If you have any questions, please let me know. Okay? Have fun.